Carl Schoof here from Creative Coding Club, and today I want to get you started with GSAP's free MorphSVG plugin. MorphSVG allows you to morph SVG paths with a single line of code. You can morph from simple paths to complex paths without any concern for the number of points in the paths. You can morph a bat into a butterfly with one very simple line of code, and in this video I'll show you how to get started quickly and some important tips on how to best set up your SVG files so that they make for easy morphing. Let's get going. So here in MorphSVG I have my artwork that contains my bat and my butterfly. You'll notice when the butterfly is selected that this path here is highlighted and it has an ID of butterfly. If I click onto the bat, you'll notice that it's another path that has the ID of bat. In MorphSVG, we can go to the metadata panel to assign IDs and classes to any part of our artwork. So what we're going to do first is we're going to very simply morph the bat into the butterfly. So let's go ahead, right click, and copy outer SVG, head into CodePen to build our animation. Here in CodePen, I'm just going to paste in that SVG code and you'll see that it renders right here in our preview panel. Now in order to animate this, I'm going to need to go to my JavaScript panel, click on the settings, and I'm going to load in GSAP. So I'm going to click here, type in GSAP, select GSAP. I also want to have MorphSVG, so I'm going to type in MORPH, and you'll see that it shows up in the list. And I also like having GSDevTools. So let's just save and close that. And now I'm just going to write one line of code, GSAP2, where the target is the bat, and I'm going to animate to the MorphSVG of butterfly. And now, pure magic. I can do a Command-Shift-7 to reload, and you can watch it again. Ooh! But I just love using GSDevTools. So let's do a GSDevTools.create. And now, if the animation's too fast, well, we can just scrub through the good parts, all right? You'll see now that the bat morphs perfectly into that butterfly. Now, you may notice a few things. First off is that the bat is moving to where the butterfly shape is, and that's all happening as designed, but chances are we might just want the bat to animate to the butterfly in place. Secondly, chances are you don't want to see the shape that you're morphing to. So one of my general rules of thumb is that in the CSS, I'll take the element that I'm morphing to and hide it. In this case, I'll create a rule for the butterfly to have display none. Now the butterfly is hidden, and on a fresh reload, we will see the actual animation. There we go. And now it's a bit of a mystery. What is the bat going to morph into? Ah, a butterfly. Now to have it morph in place, I would jump back into my artwork and simply just take the butterfly, move it to the center of my document, and do the same thing with the bat, like so. Again, I'm going to right click, copy the outer SVG, jump back into CodePen. I'll just select and delete the SVG that we have there, paste in a new one, and there we go. We have our bat morphing into a butterfly in place, and it looks wonderful. If you want the black bat to morph into a blue butterfly, well, all we have to do in the tween is add a fill property, and let me just guess a color of 4BD. Ah, isn't that nice? I really love it. Bat to butterfly in literally one line of code, and now we can use MorphSVG and GSDevTools for free anywhere that we want. Now, as a little bonus tip, you may notice that at the beginning of this tween here, I'm scrubbing and nothing's really happening until I get past the 0.3 mark, okay? This is where the animation is actually starting. And the reason for that is that we are recording the GSAP global timeline, and there's a little bit of dead space before this tween getting recorded. So to clean this up, what I'm going to do over here is just magic paste in some cleaned up code where I've named my tween with the constant morph, and I'm passing morph in as the animation property. I also want to point out that I gave my animation an ID of bat morph. So that's what shows up here in GSDevTools. Woo! And now when I play, you'll see that all of GSDevTools is just that tween all the way back to the beginning, and there's no dead space. Next, I'm going to take this weird mess and make it into something beautiful. We're going to take this line here that has just a start and end point and morph it into these other lines. The line that I've selected has an ID of line 0, and we're going to morph it into line 1 here, which is yellow, line 2, which is red, and line 3, which is green. Now I've done something a little bit different here in that all of those lines are inside of a group, all right? You'll see I can take the group and move it around. And the reason I've done that is because what I'm going to do is give this group an ID of lines, and then I can just hide that group with my CSS instead of targeting all those lines individually. I already have a CodePen set up that contains the SVG, and all we're seeing is this beautiful line with the gradient fill. And that's because in my CSS, I've told that lines group to have display none, so I'm not seeing any of those ugly other lines. Now in my JavaScript, I already have a GSAP timeline here where we have 3 tweens. Line 0 first morphs to line 1, and then line 0 will go to line 2, and then to line 3. So it's just a very basic syntax through all these different states. We're going from a line with low points to many points to jagged points. You may also note that I have this default object on the timeline where I'm setting a duration of 1 for each tween. I did that so that I can easily add a different ease. Let's add a back ease. Now you'll see there's a little bit of overshoot. It's subtle, but we can configure that ease to be something like back 4, and now there's going to be a lot more overshoot, and it just makes it more playful. Instead of a back ease, hey, you know what, we could even do elastic. And now we have springy morphs. How neat is that? Now one thing I want to point out here is that line 0 is always the thing morphing, all right? That's our original line. And although it morphs to line 1, the next tween is still taking line 0 and morphing it to line 2. Now let's say that after we get to line 3, which is this jagged one, we want to morph back to the line 0 state. Well, check this out. We can morph line 0 to itself. I'm going to paste in a new line here and change this to line 0. And now we'll watch the animation play through. And what's going to happen is at the end, it goes back to being flat, all right? It went to the jagged one, line 3, and then it goes back to line 0, all right? There's a little bit of an overshoot outside of the SVG bounds there. We could fix that with overflow visible, but for now, the point is that we're going back to its original state. And if you're curious on how that works, we can right-click on this line here, go to inspect it, and you'll see that our line 0 here has all this path data, but it also has a data original attribute which stores what it looked like in its unmorphed state. So I hope you enjoy that little bonus piece of information there. In this next example, we're going to take this square and morph it into this arrow. It's important to note that this square is actually an SVG rect element or rectangle, okay? And it has the ID of square. And we're going to morph to this path that has an ID of arrow. Now, pay attention. I'm going to again right-click, copy this beautiful SVG, paste it into my CodePen, and now you'll see that we only see the square because my CSS tells the arrow to have display none. And look at this, going one step further, I already have code set to morph the square into the arrow. But as you may notice, no animation is happening at all. Something's wrong. Well, let's pop over to our little console here and we get this message. Cannot morph a rect element. Use MorphSVG plugin.convert to path to convert to a path before morphing. Ah, that's handy. I'm going to go right here, copy out what it's suggesting to me, and I'm going to paste that code right in here, and I'm going to add in square, and then we get what we need. Let me just close the console here. I'll play one more time, and now we have my square morphing into my arrow. Now, if we right-click on this shape here and go to inspect it, you'll see that it is a path with the ID of square. It's no longer that original rectangle that we had, okay? In fact, there's no rectangle elements in our code anywhere at all. But remember, in our source SVG code here, the first element was a rectangle with the ID of square. It's been converted to a path so that it can be morphed into the shape of the arrow path. So we just applied this to a rectangle, but we would also have to use it on circles, ellipses, rectangles, lines, polygon, and polylines. So just remember to convert those elements to paths before you try to morph them. Here's a fun little demo from the GSAP team where the SVG has a polygon, rectangle, and circle, and each one of them morphs into a different letter. Ooh! And you'll see here they're using MorphSVG plugin, convert to path, and they're passing in the actual elements that are going to be converted, and then down here, the triangle, square, and circle are all being morphed to their respective letters. Definitely worth exploring this demo to see how nifty it actually is. So now that we understand the basic mechanics of MorphSVG, I can give you a behind-the-scenes look at these more detailed animations. Using GSDev tools, you can see that we have a few different things animating, all right? But I want to focus on the main body of the fruits. Now I have 3 different colored shapes on the apple that I've given the classes Apple Light, Apple Mid, and Apple Dark. And each one of these shapes has a corresponding shape in the lemon where I have Lemon Light, Lemon Mid, and Lemon Dark. That animation was fairly easy to set up and animate. However, it's always the little details that might take a little extra time. So in the beginning, I have the leaf and the stem animating with this little shadow here. That's a separate timeline where the leaf shrinks, the stem sort of hides into the shadow using a clip path, and then the shadow closes up. When the lemon gets revealed, another stem pops out, and then its leaf, it looks kind of like it's growing, but what's happening is there is a clip path that is growing that reveals the leaf, all right? A subtle little trick there that causes a nice visual effect. Now in the code, I've broken these things up into 3 separate timelines. There's a timeline for the apple stem, where the leaf, the stem path, and the stem shadow get animated. And the main thing here is, of course, the morph animation, where apple dark morphs into lemon dark, mid into lemon mid, and light into light, as I explained. And literally that took maybe 5 or 10 minutes to set up. It was very simple, but it was the other animations that took a little bit of, playing around with to get them right. Either way, all 3 animations are added to the main timeline using add. We have a little bit of overlap with these position parameters here, and in the end, we come up with something which I think is a really nice looking animation. And of course, using GSDev tools, you can scrub through and investigate these things on your own. Right now, I have it playing at quarter speed, which makes it easier to see what's happening, but at normal speed, it happens really zippy and just looks slick. Next, I'm going to show you my Dolphin morph, all right? There's all these fun little details that get revealed as the Dolphin is morphing. And so with GSDev tools, we can scrub back to the beginning, and you'll see that our Dolphin starts as just this little blob. And then it morphs into what we're calling our Dolphin shape. However, between the blob and the Dolphin shape, I found that I needed to add an intermediary shape, all right? Because I wasn't so happy with how we were getting to this end state here. Now, as I'm scrubbing through, it does look like one sort of continuous morph, but the secret here is that if we look in my SVG file, you'll see that I drew this really crude kind of intermediary shape that I'm referring to as blob 3. At one point I had blob 2 in there somewhere. So basically, this little guy here called blob 1 is going to morph into blob 3, and then we're going to morph into the full main body of the Dolphin. Once we get close to the main body, we'll reveal these sort of little flippers down here, his eyes and his blowhole, and there's a little piece of his underbelly here that gets revealed with a mask. So what I've done is I have a version of this demo here that only has the blob shape morphing to the main body shape. And let's just go a little bit bigger here so that you can see what's happening. And to me, it looks like we get into the dolphin shape very quick, and then it almost looks like it's just scaling up from a certain point, and we kind of lose that, what I call morphing magic. So what I've done here is I've commented out the tween where we go from blob 1 to our blob 3. Let me turn that back on, and now you'll see we get a lot more morph magic, so to speak, all right? Here we start with our blob shape, and then we go to our blob 3, which is kind of like this thing right here. And once we go there, it then sort of arches a little bit and gets into that final phase of the main body. And then we have the flippers come in, and the light purple underbelly is being revealed with just a large circular clip path that's growing, okay? And it's just revealing those details, and then the eye and the blowhole fill in. And watching this at real speed, it looks really nice. And to add just a little bit more flair to this, I have a final tween down here that does a rotation of the entire group of parts called Dolphin Morph, and also moves a little bit along the Y and X axis. So let me just uncomment that, and then now you see everything working perfectly together. And something like this was a little bit more involved than doing the fruit morph, but you know, if you just put in a little extra time, you can get these really nice results. And at the end of the day, I'm quite happy with how this all worked out. So again, we have this sort of main timeline here, which deals with most of the morphing that goes on. And then we have another timeline for some of the more subtle details, like the flippers appearing. Flipper 1 morphs a little bit. Flipper front just moves along the Y-axis. And there's a fin back, which is really just a very small piece of light purple right here. Again, things that you may not notice when it's playing in real time, but it all adds to the final effect of going from just a total simple blob shape to this full figured dolphin. And again, all of this would be totally impossible if we didn't have these nested timelines that we could create with GSAP and be able to fine tune everything and work with GSDev tools so you can really inspect the details. So I encourage you to jump into MorphSVG, start with small, simple shapes, and then play around with more complex things. And there are a bunch of advanced features that I haven't even scratched the surface of yet. But again, start small and take it step by step. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I do want you to know that I worked at GreenSock back when this was their logo, okay? I was there when they started transitioning from Flash to JavaScript, and I was learning most of these tools before documentation even existed, all right? So I'm just creating lessons that I wish I had when I was learning this stuff, all right? I've taught thousands of developers how to master the basics of GSAP and use all their special tools, all right? I've been doing this for over 10 years, and although the lessons might not always be the prettiest or the fanciest, I really want you to master the fundamentals so that when you see effects online, you can say, hey, you know what? I know what tools I need to build that, all right? So there's this old saying that says, if you want to learn how to build a house, grab a hammer and follow a home builder around for 6 months. Well, through my Creative Coding Club courses, that's basically what I'm allowing you to do, okay? I want you to jump in, do the lessons just a little bit each week, and you'll have an opportunity to see just how I would build these things, all right? I'll show you step by step. We'll look at the CSS, the HTML. I'll teach you some basic JavaScript tricks along the way. You don't have to be a front-end expert for this stuff, all right? I'm going to keep it simple, but you're going to be amazed at the results if you put in the time. So I welcome you to check out these courses and discover the joy of animating with code. See you in the club.